Good evening, everyone. It's Sunday night. It's 10 p.m. Of course, it's the APAT show. Tonight, Leigh, with a generous helping of Tom Brady. We will come on to that. But it's not only Tom Brady that we have tonight. Tell me, who else do we have in our little parlor?
Well, I mean, last week we went to him live from Las Vegas. We've upped our game this week. We're going live to his living room this week. A warm welcome to Warren Brooks. How are you doing, Warren?
Evening, guys. Yeah, Norwich isn't quite the same as Vegas, is it? But
not quite the same as Vegas, but we can both see you and hear you, albeit I'm pretty sure you don't have a showgirl of sorts on your mantelpiece. Right, which no, you very much you brought to us last week. I have to say, it might have been the high point of the APAT show's history.
Unfortunately, I couldn't get Iggy Azalea back with me in the luggage, so
I'm sure he tried. We know he tried. Right, we'll come on to Tom Brady, but Leigh, it's that time of the evening. You've got to do some selling, so let me hand over to you, sir.
Yeah, no, it's number 16 of the week, tournament-wise. It's the only one you can still register for this week if you want to get involved. So it is the APAT Show Turbo Knockout. It has a $500 guarantee, and it currently has 46 runners. Des, we're a few runners short of the guarantee, but the positive note is you have 4 minutes and 45 seconds remaining if you want to register for it. So if you want to get involved, do so. One Natalie Bromley is currently third in chips on that list. I can see Eddie's playing it tonight. I see Steve Forty's also got chips there as well. Dan Williams is playing. Dan's currently chip leader in the main event as well, and also ran quite deep in the deep stack event earlier on as well. I saw, and is I believe playing the PLO. Was in the PLO earlier on as well. Might have already bust that one as well. But yeah, clearly friend of the show, Dan Williams, is having a proper APAT night at home on a Sunday night. Fantastic. Well, what else would you be doing on a Sunday night?
What else would you be doing, Leigh? Absolutely nothing else to do. You mentioned the PLO there. We have a crazy PLO hand to show you. Right, I've just got a still. Joe Gaynard put it on the Facebook group. I think it was on the Facebook group earlier. It features Joe and Tom Clark. You've got to see this hand. So I'll put the still up in a little while. A bunch of you out there watching Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, on the APAT site. Get your comments in the chat box, right? We'll put them up on screen and we will have a chat. As one Mr. Simon Lawler has done already, he simply says, evening. Right, the Oracle says good evening. If Simon says evening, it is in fact evening. And while my iPhone, right, auto-corrected the time today, and did anyone tell Tom Brady? But we'll come back to that.
Yeah,
I'm none the wiser. I never know what time it is. But if Simon says it's evening, it's evening. Joe Chilmid's out there as well. Evening, chaps. Evening to you, Joe. So, guys, get your comments in the chat box, and we will discuss stuff with Warren through the evening. Leigh, Leaderboard Ladders, how's it all looking?
Yeah, so we're on week 79 of Leaderboard Ladders. Time flies when you are very much having fun. Some usual names at the top. Dylan Herbert, second in the leaderboard this week at the moment, going into the final four events of the week. Di Farrell was in the top 20. Richard Baker, but the Canadian Richard Baker, not to be confused with the UK Richard Baker, I think, was in there as well. Pontus Dahlgren's up there as well. But the leader at the moment was Yehor Yakovenko from the Ukraine at the moment. But of course, everybody's going to be trying to add points to.
Not from Nevada, Leigh?
No, definitely not from Nevada. No.
You sure? You sure?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
Warren, is Yeehaw? No. No. Okay,
no.
We'll move on. We'll move on swiftly from that.
No, definitely not. So, what are they playing tonight? Well, the deep stack has already concluded. I've just literally rushed over that. Deep stack has already concluded. Michael Quinn from the UK picked for the win, beating Jerry Hivarinen from Finland. Oliver Pennington was third. Oliver plays quite a bit with APAT, so well done to you guys. The main event, well, we're on the final table. That's up on screen at the moment, down to 7 now. Patrick Kuchera from the Czech Republic finished in 8th, and that was the min cash is $509 up top. And as you can see, one chip leader is one Dan Williams at the moment.
Wow. Yeah.
Also got Gerard Close on that final table. Ganka is on there as well from Bulgaria. Heribert Phil Koffer from Germany is also on that final table as well. Again, a regular player with us on APAT. PLO, 26 runners in that tonight. So it's paying top 5, and we are down to the final 5. David Taylor is currently chip leader in that one. And then say, as I mentioned, you have just over 1 minute if you want to get into the APAT show turbo knockout tonight. $500 guarantee in that. Currently got 49 runners. Come on, we need one more of you.
Get involved.
Otherwise the Duffy children aren't going to be able to get food for the week. Honestly, we can't,
Otherwise, we're going to have to play the Tom Brady video. It goes on for about it's got to go for about 50 or 60 minutes at least. I mean,
if we don't get a 50 runners, we're going to play that video twice. I tell you, we'll play it twice. You've been warned. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So, Simon, he shares some Oracle-like secrets with us in terms of, evening and how he knew. I spoke of iPhones and time going forward, or was it back? And Tom Brady seemingly not knowing, but Simon simply uses the old methods. He's old school. It's dark outside. It's evening. Fair enough. I can see that. Steve Forty cautiously says hi all, because normally he'd be in with a couple of Liverpool jibes already at this point in the show, but he's saving himself. He's got quite a few to work with tonight, I have to say. Who's got the tumbleweed avatar?
There's avatars?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. I missed that. That one's gone over my head.
Which ones? Which is that on? Are we talking YouTube, on Twitch? Where's it?
Well, Simon Lawler, it could be coming from almost anywhere. Jan True, which is a new name to me, says, "Bet you wish you were there, guys." Well, if she's talking about Vegas, and I'm making an assumption it's a she. It might not be a she. Could very well be a he. But
Mum.
It's who? It's your mum.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Welcome, Jan. Definitely a she. Yes, we wish we were in Vegas, I have to say. Next November, we're going, right, Leigh? Just sort out the expenses. We're going.
Sorted. Is there anything happening next November whilst out there? Will we have something to do?
Well, it coincides, Leigh, and it's simply coincidental with the Formula One.
Wow, really? What a spot of luck.
That is what I believe, and we have.
It's on sale this week apparently as well.
Yes. We have a somebody out there on, I want to say possibly Twitch, saying hello to you, sir or madam. And Simon says
Emerald Phoenix.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Phonics. Yeah,
I'm a little old for that. I can't, if it doesn't read like English, I can't do it. Simon says hi, Warren's mum, and it also says they're selling the first tickets this week. So I assume he's talking about for the Vegas Formula One event. Wow, yeah. Exciting.
Starting $500 apparently.
Oh, really?
Well,
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Got to do it though.
Wow.
Got to do it. Can you imagine Formula One on the strip? Absolutely insane.
Yeah. So it's another week, Des, where we're in the studio, but there is an APAT event going on now. It has just concluded, so I've just had a message to say who's won, so we know where the situation is.
Right.
But it was over in Malta. You were thinking about literally flying back from Vegas and getting on a flight straight back out to Malta, Warren, at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, that never happened. I got to work on Monday and I came off that flight absolutely beaten. So yeah, 3 nights in Malta wasn't going to happen.
I'll tell you what, it's been a crazy few weeks for the pokers. We've been to Manchester, we've been to Ash in the Czech Republic, to Malta. Now, of course, you've been to Vegas. Warren, it's just been an insane few weeks. Just squads left, Leigh. Am I right in saying just squads left? Just
squad. You say just squads, but yeah,
squad's going to be huge,
which is just going to be absolutely insane. We're pretty much going to take over Dust Till Dawn for the weekend.
But listen,
in what 3 weeks? 3 weeks time now, aren't we?
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. So
listen, before you tell us who won in Malta, and I'm sure there's a few people out there who'll be interested because Matt Wilson. Am I right? Matt Wilson? Yeah. Heads up. Now, I don't know Matt, but he is well known among APATers. So why don't we roll this video from Tom, who spoke to us just before we went live from the casino at the Malta Poker Festival. There were heads up in the APAT event, and Tom also found a few guests to talk to. Let's roll this.
Hey guys, welcome. Hey, we're just... It's been fast and furious here in Malta. We were 300 for a short period of time. We lost Maria, after she had some 2 all-in hands against Matt here, Matt Wilson. Matt won them both. He's now got 20 million chips, roughly. Yes, Matt would like me to point out for Di, Blue Blood. There we go, sir.
I'm Black Country Poker Club.
On Black Country Poker Club, shout out. Matt's now got 20 million chips playing against Johan Gustafsson, who's got about 10. So we've got a 50 chip lead. They were just at the heads upstage. But that wasn't all the action we had from Malta, because here with Malta we have some guys you might know. Let me have a look. Here's Robbie, Ian, and Simon. So I was just going to say, so we're in Malta. We're part of the Malta Poker Festival, which Yvonne has put on for a few years now. And actually this year was a bit of an extension because, Robbie, you brought your 3rd ever mixed game festival to the Malta Poker Festival.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was the first time ever doing it in Europe after 2 incarnations in Las Vegas. We had a horse tournament. We had 59 people show up in Malta on a Tuesday night.
Fantastic.
So that was nice. And then we had cash games running Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and there was also Friday night, Saturday, like all that. There's like lots of cash games going.
Yeah, so the Mixed Game Festival for you is a tournament mixed in with some small cash games. What small cash games for you was what, like 48, 510?
Like the general goal is just to grow mixed games. I mean, you walk into any poker room around the world, you'll find, okay, you have your 4 daily Hold'em tournaments and 17 Hold'em tables, maybe a PLO. What if you want to play Badoogie or Stud or, 8 game or anything like that? So I was like, let's give an outlet to the people who want to play more games, and let's convince some of these, Hold'em only people that there's a lot more joy to be found in poker.
Indeed. And you came to APAT's attention. Now, I wasn't involved in this over COVID, but with Des and Leigh, you got involved in the Orbit and online. And hold that bag up there because this is new to me, but probably not to a lot. And this is all on the back of Card Player Lifestyle.
.com.
No, this is a good plug, but this is something which just grew from a passion for you, wasn't it? It was something you wanted to take a chance on in life. And
it's I always loved poker, and I knew I was not going to be a professional player, but loved the industry, and I wanted to be able to contribute and live that card player lifestyle without depending on the flip of a card for my living. So I said, okay, let's just do some media and create some articles, and we'll do some podcasts, and now it's turning into live events. So it really is an outgrowth of that, and I get to do this for a living. It's like, I'm going to poker tournaments to cover it, fly to these exotic places. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, but when you do what you love, you're not working a day in your life. So
no, indeed. And part of that ties in well because these two gentlemen, well known on the APAT scene for mixed games, their love of mixed games, they played Robbie's game today, yeah? Yes, sorry, the other day on the cash games.
Yeah,
sorry, let me try and get this. Is that better? Is that better? Yeah.
No, it was great. We played the horse tournament on Tuesday, like Robbie was talking about. That was fantastic. A few little teething problems in the early levels, like every mixed game tournament you ever see anywhere in the world, pretty much. But it got going from level 2 onwards. It was fantastic, and the players loved it, didn't they?
Brilliant turnout. It was a lot of fun.
And Simon, you won a prize, yeah?
I won a prize
from donated personally by Robbie. Yeah. Alternatively, that prize might have been Robbie.
It was a special honor, special distinction. We awarded Simon the Mastering Mixed Games book, which goes to the first player eliminated.
What? The what? Sorry?
But he also was the first player to re-enter.
Oh.
So it was great.
There comes a time in life, Simon, when we all advocate, re-entries, they're good, yeah?
Yeah.
Did you guys play the cash side of it?
We did, yeah. So after that, we played in the cash games. It was a really great mix of people from all different nationalities. We had Germans, we had French people, we had Dutch people,
Brits as well.
Were there a couple of them?
I think there was one or two Belgians,
Israeli American.
But we played lots of different games. It was a lot of fun. We donated a bit of money to the stable and generally splashed around. But it was all played in great humour. We had a lot of fun and a few beers as well.
And the dealers were wonderful. Also, even if they didn't know, everyone, the players were helping them.
Yeah.
It was very good mood, good vibes.
Yeah, it was the ultimate friendly game. Yeah, everyone was there just having a good time. It was, everyone wants to win, but that wasn't really why people were there.
No, very much. As you know, it fits in well with our World Championships. as we said this year, because of coming out of COVID, pretty hard with dealer experience, lost a lot of experience. But I'm looking forward to next year. We can grow that. What Simon said to me today was the cash games here were very different because actually it was sort of like a dealer's choice, but you could actually introduce new games, which is not something we do at the Worlds. We sort of say, this is what we can play, but come across a few different ones.
Absolutely, yeah. There was we played, I think, probably around 20 games in total in the many hours that we spent at the stadium. And maybe less than half of them were actually known to us before we played them. I think some of them were probably made up on the spot, but
there's a lot of combining of games.
Yes.
I like this bit of this game and this bit of this game, so we can make a split pot game out of that. That'll work.
Yeah. And we'll be taking those games back home with us and introduce them into our home games, and I'm sure they'll be all over APAT.
Yeah. Well, hey, Robbie, I know you got an early flight to catch.
I do.
Lovely seeing you again, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks to
maybe
APAT.
we'll.
Hi, Des. Hi, Leigh.
And maybe, hey, we got something at our heart here. Mixed games. We do the Worlds. We're looking at doing a little mini. Hey, hopefully next year maybe we we see something happening together or something. You never know.
Cool. I haven't been to England since my honeymoon.
Oh wow! Because your first two were Vegas. This is your first one out of America, so Europe. So
so it's good to have your footprint everywhere, and this is definitely going to be something I'm putting a lot more effort into, and hopefully have multiple mixed game festivals each year. And we'll see where they'll be.
And hopefully one day in the UK, mate.
Amen.
Indeed, lovely. You see a flight home, mate.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I'm going to go to these boys because hey, you played the mixed games, but how did the APAT go?
The APAT tournament was a lot of fun. Big numbers as expected.
With 329. Very happy. I would have been very happy with 300, over the moon with 350. So 329, I'm delighted. Yeah.
And every single one of the tournaments this week has had big numbers, and, but also being played in a great spirit. Everybody's been incredibly friendly. Lots of different countries represented, and a lot of friendships made.
And as you can see, I'm just going to go quickly here. Just this is a Sunday night. Like the tables are, but here's our heads up event here. We got over the other side of the table. We got the floor. We got events going on. We got some down there, but all weekend, this floor, and there's actually two floors where you play the Malta Poker Festival. They've been ram packed all weekend.
I think as well, what's been great is like the fact that it's all confined within here is that you meet someone in one tournament, you keep seeing the same people. Later in another tournament, we were playing a cash game, you run into them again. Like Simon said, there's so many friendships being made, and people who have, we played yesterday, I remember that pop. So it's just been a really great atmosphere.
Great. Thank you for joining me, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to pan over here now because we're still in the heads up phase here. As you can see, I think Johan probably has shifted the balance of the 2-1 chip lead. I haven't seen much play. Matt says he's giving her a hammer. I was trying to say that as quietly as I could without upsetting Matt. I'm going to come back and let them get on with it. But nice to speak to you guys. All the best for Malta.
There we go, guys.
What
a great report.
There you go.
Tom has been hiding that talent for a little while. I think we've got to get him to do more of that, Leigh. But, before we discuss that interview, how did it finish?
Well, it finished with a success for the UK. Matt went and did a win. Picked up the APAT gold medal and is Maltese amateur poker champion for the year, picking up a cool 5,400 euros as well.
Sweet.
Which is superb. I'm to say, as they said, over 300 runners in that, so the prize pool was going to be pretty large. Absolutely superb. It sounds like what a great place to be. Warren, have you been out to Malta before for previous events? Or
yeah, twice. I can confirm everything there that Simon said. It's a fantastic event. Yvonne does a fantastic job with it. I fully recommend anyone, if they want to do a foreign poker trip, it's, the flights are cheap, the hotels are plentiful. Really nice place to go, and again, as they said, the tournaments were all very well structured. I went out in 2019, just before COVID, and then again in April or May this year, I think it was, for the sort of the catch-up one that they did. And I'd have loved to have gone this weekend, but yeah.
I have to say, it looked an amazing schedule, didn't it, Leigh? I mean, you've got a sort of it's a proper festival. You've got a mix of brands out there, hell of a lot of different games, different buy-in points, and you've got one of the warmest tournament organisers that you'll find anywhere on the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, Malta in the autumn is just an absolute hotbed of poker, isn't it? Because you have the Battle of Malta, you've got the Malta Poker Festival, and everyone seems to just kind of support and help each other out. So they get a number of brands involved, and that's the way poker should be. I don't think it needs to be, a competition with brands and everything. There's enough to go around for everybody, and be supportive of poker in general. And to be honest, this particular week or couple of weeks in Malta is one of the best examples of that, of just everybody working together for the good of poker.
Lovely to see. And sorry, go.
Ben Burnhill had a very good score in the
he did
in the Hendon Mob Championship as well. So that was good to see him go deep in that.
I think he was playing slots. I'm pretty sure he was playing slots.
He was definitely playing some slots, but there is photo evidence that he made the final table of that event, and fair play to him for that. Absolutely superb. A lot of love for Matt Wilson in the chat box. Di Farrell, we put her comment up. Obviously, Matt's a member of the Blue Blood team. He also gave a shout out to the Black Country Poker Club. So, a lot of love there. Tommy Clark, evening, and congrats, Matthew Wilson. And Decaf TV, and I think we know who that is, says Ian Witt legend. Brooksy, also a ledge. That would have to be our friend who's entering and doing well in every poker tournament tonight, Mr. Poker News.
He is currently chip leader in this No Limit Hold'em main event. We've absolutely flown through this, Des. We're down to three runners in this now, and Dan has a ridiculous chip lead over the two remaining players. Just as we're watching him get it all in against Heribert, and he's going to bust Heribert as well.
Wow.
Who had two pair. Dan is heads up with a 5-1 chip lead over Ganka. We'll see how this plays out. Playing for so they're both guaranteed $312 now. It's $509 up top. So playing for about another $200 in this heads up.
Wow.
Listen, tonight.
Mention Tom Clark there in the comments. It'll be interesting to get Tom's view on this. How are you liking your chances getting your money in a PLO? Holding a straight flush. What do you think, Warren? You're liking your chances there?
So, you've got to love the bottom end of that straight flush, haven't you?
It's just insane, isn't it? So this is the way it ran out. Don't know quite, how the money went in. But Joe Gaynard had the bottom end of it. You're going to be liking that. Tom Clark sat with the
they flopped it as well.
9, 10 of spades.
Wow.
Which of them do you think started the slow playing? Absolutely beautiful, beautiful hand.
And look, and funny, look who else is on that table there.
Heribert,
who we just mentioned, has just bust out of the No Limit Hold'em at the hands of Dan Williams. Well, it's a
fantastic,
beautiful thing.
Speaking of Tom earlier, he was saying that he was wondering how to get it in against this guy because he's obviously got ace flush.
You don't know. He could have taken him for his house, his car. His partner, the whole lot could have gone in on that hand. How do you value a straight flush in PLO? There aren't any circumstances that you're not getting it all in, Warren, correct?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I was saying to Tom before as well that one of the games I was playing at the Orleans had a bad beat jackpot of about 70,000, where that would have obviously triggered it. So obviously in tournaments it won't go, but you'd feel a little bit happier about it if you picked up that sort of score afterwards.
Yeah, no, you'd be very, very happy you'd take that. Di says Tom Clark is such a fish, straight flush. Quite right. And Simon says, well done, Dan Williams. Quite right, Dan, on a bit of a roll tonight, we have to say.
Absolutely. I don't know how easily you'll be able to pick up, but Tom has just posted up in our chat. There's winner's photo with Matt. If you're able to do it.
I could definitely put that up. I could see myself putting that up, but if I do that, the whole stream goes down.
So that's what I thought. That's what I thought you might say is the case.
What we will say, maybe Tom can post it into the chat if he's out there. Maybe you could write the comment to him, Leigh. Just put it into the chat for the stream.
Do that.
Fantastic.
I can do that now.
So Tom's given us the action here, Tom Clark. So Joe leads the flop, I call. Joe leads the turn, I call. Joe leads the river, I raise. He shoves, I snap. Unlucky. I mean, what a great hand. Couldn't have played out any other way, right?
Yeah, it is just one of those, isn't it? Yeah.
Simon, what, no river slow roll? Not with APAT, my friend. Not with APAT. So how was your game, Warren, in Vegas? Did you play much? I know you.
Not as much as I think I probably wanted to, but obviously there's many other things to do out there.
Yes.
We started off, and I'd been chatting all week about this MGM tournament.
Right.
And what they do is they start you up with 25k, but they give you a 100k add-on at the break. So I've always said, why play the first 2 hours? Max late reg, take your 125k, and there's so many people that don't understand the mechanics of that tournament by having the 4 times add-on. I've played it before, and you see people just chucking money in 2 or 3 hands before the break and rebuying for 100 in a really marginal hand. So I just said, there's so much dead money in that tournament, we have to play it. Yeah. And I think within about 20 minutes, all 4 of us were out. So it was,
you're joking.
So that didn't go down particularly well. But it's the thing I found really strange was how you get such a mixed bag of how well tournaments are run on the strip. And I've played a few at Caesars that have the add-on. Have an add-on at the break, but then the structure's terrible after the break. Blinds double every 20 minutes. Yeah. So it's just a complete crapshoot at that stage. So I prefer the ones that are, Aria's very well structured. Orleans is very well structured. Resorts World, we went out there as well. Tom and Tomo both cashed in the Resorts World tournament. Again, Orleans, myself and Tom cashed there. Aria tournament, I think both myself, John, Reese, and Tom made final table. Something like 4,000 up top. I went out 9th, Tom went out 8th, John went out 7th, unfortunately. So, but again, that's a very, very, very well-run tournament. And the standard of player out there really isn't much to talk about. At that sort of level buying, that sort of $100, $200 level buying. So, yeah, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed playing out there. Really enjoyed getting out to Orleans, my favourite casino. Not on the strip, obviously, but because they just play lots of mixed games, I was playing quite a lot of Omaha high-low cash, which is really good fun.
Is that the only reason you go to the Orleans? Because Di is asking, do the Orleans pay bad beats on Omaha cash games, or is Warren just distracted by the Amazon goddess waitress?
Unfortunately,
is there a story to be told there? Is there a favourite waitress in Vegas?
There was last trip, yeah. There was last.
Bear in mind, your mum is watching. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the joke with Orleans is that it looks like it's not changed since the 1970s, and the waitresses are still there since the 1970s. That's the long-running joke with that place, and they've all got that cocktails kind of drawl. And then I turned up there. June, I think it was June earlier this year.
Yeah.
And they've just got some lady whose twin sister works in the circus, who's an absolute. We're like, where's she come from? Where have they got her? But unfortunately, she wasn't there this time.
God darn. So tell me, bearing in mind that your mum's, probably still listening in, what was the extracurricular like? So outside of the poker, did you do any of the touristy stuff? Obviously, we saw you go to the Raiders game. What else did you guys get up to, Warren?
Yeah, we went to the Golden Knights hockey game as well.
Okay, fantastic.
Tickets for that. There was about 3 games that were going on while we were out there, so we picked one. I have to admit, I didn't enjoy that as much as the football. I don't really understand ice hockey as much. There was no fights, which is obviously
no violence.
No violence, very much so. We were going to try and start a fight ourselves, see if it sort of kicked off, but I didn't want to harm Tomo's face. Lovely face.
That's right.
So,
bunch of Brits. Nobody would have paid you any attention whatsoever. Normal behaviour. Not bothered.
But yeah, so we had a night during pianos in Harris. Spent quite a lot of time playing beer pong in O'Shea's. So it's much more of that than there was poker.
Yeah, to be honest, that's okay.
Yeah. Blair Matheson was with us as well, and he had the tickets to the emo festival that was out there.
Okay.
Which unfortunately was cancelled on the first night, but he managed to get out for the second. And what else have we got? It's such a long time ago now.
Oh, it sounds like you guys had fun. And you said at the top of the show that you'd almost delayed your return. You were tempted to go to LA for a couple of days.
Yeah,
There was another NFL game on out there. Is that right?
Currently being played at the moment. 49ers versus the Rams at the.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the stadium. It's that new one that they built, and it's to be.
It's the sofa something, isn't it?
Sophie,
yes.
SoFi or something like that.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I think it cost something like $4 billion to build, and it just looks like what.
It's where the Super Bowl was last year, isn't it?
Absolutely. So it looks incredible, and I wanted to get to that, but that's on now. I've got that on the screen next to me here. And for the game as well, 49ers versus the Rams, it should have been a good game. So, but the whole trip originally as well, I was going to take a trip up the West Coast as part of this, but saving that for another time at the moment.
You just gotta rent a Mustang and just drive through the desert. I tried that once. It wasn't a Mustang, and I got about 200 meters into the desert, and then I bricked it and thought, "Nah, I'm going back. Have no water in the car. I'm not going to do this." True story.
Do you prefer? We've had this conversation on a number of times now. Do you prefer the Vegas in the fall opposed to around World Series time, or what's your take on it?
It's just too hot in the summer. It's far too hot in the summer. The weather we had in the UK, that sort of week where it was just ridiculous, that was on a par with what Vegas was like in the summer. When I was there in June, I think I missed the really hot weather by about a week. But you walk out of the airport and it was windy and it feels like you've got a hairdryer on your face. It's so hot. And then you forever you want to sort of just grab a shower or change every 5 minutes. So this sort of time of the year, first half of the week, we were looking at early 30s. And then it sort of hit Sunday, wind got a bit chillier. Wind picked up over the weekend, which is why the festival was cancelled. And it was just a bit chillier in the evenings, but it was nothing that was, it was absolutely bearable to sort of go around in shorts and t-shirt.
I'll be honest, when out of COVID, when they first put back on the World Series, and it was in the autumn, wasn't it, of 2021. I kind of thought, well, maybe they'll stick with that, but they very quickly just gone back to the May, June, July dates. Is it? I don't know. Is the autumn also a lot more conventions and stuff on, or is it?
There's a lot. We saw a lot out there. Yeah, there was lots of people doing. I think you've got there's a big convention coming up in the next couple of weeks. What's the electronics one that they do?
CES, Consumer Electronics Show.
That's the one, yeah.
January normally, that one.
Okay. So there's that. There's I can't remember what it was, but there was 2 or 3 things out there while we were there. We wanted to go up to the Sky Bar at Resorts World, but there was some conference on up there. So rooms have been really expensive. And then obviously when you hit, you get an NFL weekend and all the hotel prices go up a couple of $100 a night. So it just seems that there was a lot of people around at the weekend. It's fairly quiet during the week, but yeah, it's certainly, I prefer it to the middle of the summer anyway.
Yeah, no fair. It makes the temperature alone. It just makes really good sense. I recall being out there. I think it was 2005, and the temperature was just insane. I mean, I've been out there many times, but it was over 50, and it was just humming. It was humming in your ears. You could hear it. It was just insane. In any event, so how did we do there? Who won that last tourney? Did Dan take that down, Leigh?
Well, I was going to say you might have seen a few different tourneys fire up, because we were heads up in the No Limit Hold'em, which was Dan Williams against Ganka. Dan, well, he had a 5-1 chip lead, so that is no surprise to know that Dan took that down. So I flipped over to the PLO main event, as that was heads up as well. David Taylor versus Ian Clark, and that within about 2 or 3 hands finished as well, with David Taylor taking the win there for $328, beating Ian Clark into second, with Andreas Freud from Austria in third. So well done to you guys. So I've switched over now to the Turbo Knockout, last one of the week, and we're just watching a hand very much here with Dan Williams against Tristan, and Dan has taken that down as well, with a Queen 7 versus King Queen to double up his stack through Tristan. So there are 13 players left in this. It's paying top 9, so we will keep an eye on it. But say Tristan mentioned in there a couple of the names that you'll recognise. Steve 40. Is Steve still on this table? Yes, he is. He's at the bottom of this table as well. And also Eddie is on this table as well. So quite a few regular APATers on this one.
Yeah, we got Triplin, Dan. You got a bunch of locals there, as it were. Steve says, "Can I ask, what is my avatar on screen now? A pirate what? Buster my cat is my profile pic." Well, we've had unusual questions over the years. It seems like years, Leigh. That might be up there with the best of them.
No, he's got a pirate. It's a pirate. Yes, it's a pirate tiger. I think it's fairly obvious it's a pirate tiger. Once his cards disappear, if he, there we go, fold. I mean, that's a pirate tiger. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Arr.
I don't see what the issue is there. I mean, what else were you expecting it to be?
Done and dusted. Apparently, it's a pirate tiger. Steve, that's what
I can only imagine the software developers at Party Poker were probably, quickly wanting to get down the pub on a Friday afternoon and said, we need to throw a few more avatars out. What can we come up with?
Talking of Avatar,
that's what they did.
There's going to be a new Avatar movie coming, right? I hear this. I know nothing more than that. Did you both watch the first one? But a planet full of tall blue things. Yeah.
Yes, but has an Avatar 2 been on the cards for a long time? And,
so. Is it coming?
Okay.
Is it coming?
Whether it's actually going to happen? Yeah. No. It's these things take the time. It's like a second rounders, isn't it?
Oh, I hate that. Don't mention it too soon, right? Don't put it in my head 2 or 3 years before it happens. Tell me the week before it comes out.
It'll take 3 years for them to film it and post-production it, because I imagine the work that goes into something like that is incredible.
It's got to take like hours and hours to sew the kit on. Every morning I had to go into makeup. 7 hours. Dan says, think you were the only one that can see your profile pic on new update. I'm lost.
Well, the chat is back on Party Poker. That's been their big thing. Their big thing this week.
That was
the new update.
Yeah.
The new update. So the chat is back, unless it would appear you're on a Mac, and then nothing's happened.
To be honest, in poker room developments, that is a key decision that gets made every time. Do we delay the whole thing for the Mac? No, hell no. Just leave the Mac. We'll come back to the Mac.
Leave the Mac. We'll come back to that
at a later point.
You all watch the poker on a Sunday night from my screens, and I run a Mac, and so therefore it looks no bloody different than it did last week. Basically,
Dan goes on to say,
the same.
I have a unique profile pic, but on the show you see a drunken goat. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. Is he talking about Warren, the greatest of all time?
I actually think so I do think it is just I think it is a Mac and a Windows thing as to what gets shown and what doesn't. I think when I play, I see my own avatar when I play, but I think when you're watching somebody else's table, you just get the generic avatars that Party throws out. So which are goats and dogs and pirate tigers. So
did we have
yeah.
Well, we part of an unusual discussion going back a little while ago, probably between some quite well-known poker players, talking about throwing like shit across the tables on Party Poker.
Yeah.
Was Rob Young part of that? He thought that was good.
Yeah.
And there were others who thought that was really bad.
There was Daniel Negreanu might have been in that conversation as well. I think
it's just ridiculous.
if I remember rightly,
it's crazy.
I did come away from listening to them talk about it because I wasn't involved in the conversation. I think I was producing, and I did come away kind of going, after I'd thought that the throwables were an absolute waste of time, thinking, oh well, I kind of sort of get it now. Okay,
yeah, not bad.
They did kind of explain it quite well. I still have them all switched off, but I did kind of sort of get it that's it. But apparently, backed by huge player demand that they wanted the chat box back. I don't think that's a bad thing.
The mobile still, because that's always not having it on the mobile when I played, but you could get it on.
I don't think they've ever had it on the mobile. I don't think it's ever been on mobile, which to be honest makes sense because actually there's only so much screen real estate you can actually utilize on a mobile device compared to a desktop.
And that's where the throwables were fun as well. So
yeah.
Apparently,
but that's where all that came from, was from because more and more people were playing on mobiles, and therefore they were trying to find ways of people to be able to communicate with each other at the tables in a very quick and simple way. And the argument was that, well, these days people tend to in WhatsApp messages or Facebook messages or whatever, a lot of it is thumbs up, is emojis, is that kind of thing. So they were saying, well, that's how people are communicating, so that's why they did it. I do kind of understand the logic of it.
Tom said there, Tom Clark, you can actually earn throwables at Stars. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, apparently so. You got to play 10,000 hands in a month or something. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Put the price up. People want it. I'll have that.
Maybe you've got to get straight flush over straight flush to be able to throw shit at people.
Yeah. I'm imagining there's a very special throwable for that when that happens. Yeah, I reckon that is the case. Oh, it looks like Simon got absolutely abused by throwables. Wow.
Someone got upset with me in a satellite. Anyhow, I spent the last 5 minutes of her time in satellite throwing shit at me. At least 100. Fair enough. Was there a beep? There was a beep. What was the beep?
That's my Facebook, I think. Matt Wilson's just
that's
messaged me.
right.
Oh, is he? Excellent.
That's good to hear. Give him our best, Warren.
Yeah, I can't post a picture in the group because you can't actually post pictures in the chat on Facebook when you're live streaming.
Leigh, a rather historic moment. Somebody has, for the first time publicly on the show, actually thrown us a great deal of shade. This stream is so dead. I think we'll put that down to Warren. Right, we'll blame that on Warren, and we'll just not book him. We'll not book him for a future show. What do you think, Leigh? We've never had shade before. It's coming from Twitch. They're just an entirely hard audience over there.
But that's Twitch for you. That's what you get with the Twitch audience, unfortunately.
The minute you mention Negreanu and throwables together, boom, you were out. You were lost. I'm cutting this stream.
Yeah, and but anyway, Steve 40 with the aces there. So we're down to 9 players now in the APAT Show Turbo Knockout for the night, which means the guys remaining are all in the money. I think we normally play down to 7 on the final table, so bust another couple and we'll have the final table to chat and work our way through. So we normally do talk a bit about football on the show. Do we? So give us an update on your team's season so far, Warren. How are things?
Well, I think
panning out.
We've got Dean Smith as manager at the moment. He came in about this time last year after we got rid of Daniel Farker. He'd just been sacked from Villa as well, so there's not
decent manager and hadn't really done a huge amount wrong at Villa. Really surprised, and looking what's happened at Villa since, they're probably thinking, well, maybe we shouldn't have let him go so soon. So I think you did it right there.
Perhaps, but we've not been good since. We've not been good for a while anyway, but. We've had 3 seasons now in the Premier League where we've just been promoted, and we might not have bothered. Might as well not have bothered playing because we've just ended up relegated without really giving much of an effort at it.
And not spending
that
each time.
Yeah. And that's my issue with Norwich is I think the ownership model we've got doesn't really work for us. Exactly that. Yeah, we had I think a couple of 3 years ago, we got promoted with lots of young players, lots of, like Ben Godfrey, who's now gone to Everton, Max Owens, Emi Buendia, who's now at Villa as well. And we had this really strong young core of a side, which we needed to add to. And we spent 750 grand on right back from West Ham.
I'll tell you what, Warren, your first game of that season of the Premier League was at Anfield on a Friday night. I was there. And although we ended up beating you pretty convincingly, you had 2 or 3 very decent chances in the first half. You could have had quite a start to the season. I thought they looked like a really tidy side. I get that. You sometimes see that with championship teams. They look very tidy. They lose a couple of games early on for whatever reason, and then they just find it so hard to get the points.
A few weeks later after that, we beat Man City 3-2.
What would you want, Warren? To say Norwich got promoted again this season, what would you want them to do in the Premier League. I mean, bear in mind say the teams that came up last season did. I mean, look what Forest have done with the signings that they've made. Just an extraordinary number of signings, which seems to have been very hit and miss. They can have one week where they can turn over Liverpool and then lose 5-0 today. What would you want your team to actually do?
I think it's something I think Norwich fans as a whole find a very difficult question to answer, because there's a lot of people that like the fact that we're this family club, that we've got a cook that owns it, and it's different from faceless Americans owning the club, or people that are just in it for money. And a lot of Norwich fans like that, but at the same time, with how the Premier League is nowadays, it's kind of like, if you can't beat them, you kind of have to join them. So it's personally, I've become very disillusioned with it all in general. Started following NFL instead. So this season we've sort of been doing well without really doing well. Started the season poorly, then went on about an 8 or 9 game unbeaten run, went to the top of the league, and then we've gone until yesterday 6 or 7 games without winning. So, but the games that we were winning, we're not really playing well. But I think we've been very much sort of spoiled the last few years with the football that we had with Buendia. Cantwell playing well as well. It's all very, very, very attractive football. And now it's just not really, we're playing poorly, but grinding results every so often. But you feel like if we got promoted again, we would need to spend some decent money, but that's not going to happen. So it's kind of, if we want to get promoted, the price for getting promoted is just to get spanked again every week, because we don't have the money to go out and do what Forest have done, or even to do what Brentford have done, really.
So what happened with the money? Because you'll have earned quite nicely from the times you were in the Premier League, and if you weren't actually spending big, where did the money go?
Well, I've worked out we've picked up in the last sort of 4 or 5 years about 250 million in TV payments, and until I think last season our net spend was pretty much zero over that time. So I don't really know what's happened with that. Obviously wages happen, but I don't know the answer to that. We sold Buendia for 35 to 40 million a couple of years ago. The players we've bought in haven't really sort of done what we wanted them to do. We've gone out and bought a couple of players from Werder Bremen who did nothing last season. The players, I think we've never really replaced our central defensive midfielders, and that's always, when game you mentioned there, Des, where the thing I remember about that game was we were very good going forward, but very naive at the back.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. You've never really replaced Chris Sutton, have you?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely. Well, Pookie's done a very good job, but no. I always said at the start of that season, you've got 3 really good defenders: Max Aarons, 19-year-old right back; Jamal Lewis, 21-year-old left back, and Godfrey, who's obviously gone to Everton. 3 ultimately potentially very good players, but very, very inexperienced. Yeah. And we were missing an experienced head to go alongside those, and somebody who can screen the back 4 in midfield. We never got that, and that showed. I really do think that showed it, especially in that game against Liverpool, where again we were just very, very naive. And again, I think that's what did for us in that season. Having that lack of experience in defence. But we've never really. We've got a guy in Isaac Hayden from Newcastle this season, who's just come back from injury. So we'll see what he does. But for me, that's in 5 years. That's now being solved. Yeah. Having that sort of central defensive midfielder who can look after the back 4. But
just bring back those glory years of Jeremy Goss and Little Fash. What a team Norwich were back, in the day. And, I remember some of the clashes with Ipswich were fantastic when Ipswich were a semi-decent team as well.
You remember Fash's goal in the early 80s against you guys?
Yeah. Absolutely. That was at Anfield, right? And Goss smashed Bayern Munich in, presumably, what was it, the UEFA Cup back in the day?
Yeah, that's
incredible stuff. Yeah, incredible stuff.
Who scored the last goal in front of the Old Cop?
So I'm going to say, was it Goss?
It was Goss, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I remember that. Remember that being sort of a thing. Yeah, it's difficult when you've had a bigger history, and I think Norwich fans have done a tremendous amount for the club. I mean, I know when you came back up to the Premier League, 3-4 seasons ago, the reemergence of flags and just you had a proper sort of club support going there. Are they still behind the club, or is the frustration that we're hearing from you borne out on the terrace?
I think a lot of it. I mean, I'm quite vocal in my frustration about Norwich. It's something I've been watching for over 35 years, and I do feel quite detached from it now, just because of how things have been. But I think that's, again, as I said before, it's football in general. What you have to do now to exist as a football club at the highest level is basically be taken over by a country.
Yeah, it's
very rich Americans, and that's I don't enjoy that about football. But what I was going to say about the fans, if you go back to 2009 when we got relegated to League One, we were still getting 25,000 a week to watch us. And the commercial team did a very good job of getting those season tickets out. But I remember they said that if you keep your season ticket, the money that we get for that will match that, and that's what brought us Grant Holt that season. And that was the change that got having him in. It made he was obviously a legend for the club.
It feels like every year the championship seems to get stronger, or seems to have more teams in it that you kind of go, oh, they should be in the top flight, or they were in the top flight, and they could. I mean, so if it's not going to be you guys getting promoted this year, I mean, who's your money
actually
on?
Saying that, I mean, you look the teams that you're mentioning, like West Brom, they're doing nothing at the moment.
No, that's an insane fall from grace.
Yeah,
they're in trouble.
They are in a lot of trouble. They've just replaced their manager, and they've got I can't remember who it is, but he had his first game in charge at the weekend. Sheffield United are doing all right. They're not really tearing things up. Watford are doing all right. Burnley, I think, are top at the moment. So Vincent Kompany's taken over there. But what there are a lot of at the moment is teams like QPR and Reading, and they're the teams that are sort of standard championship sides. QPR have had a really good season so far this year, and they've got a lot of young players that have come through and done well. So QPR, Reading, I think, is one more. Escapes me. But I mean, the league itself is really close. There was one point where I think the team in 20th, it was middle of the table. It was 8 points to the playoffs and 8 points to relegation. So it was it's a really close division. And as I said, we've gone 6 games without, or 6-7 games without a win until last weekend, and we've dropped from 1st to 8th. Yeah. So it's been very, very, very close. So I'd like to see teams like QPR go back up, because they've had their buyout quite a few years back, where they went up and spent a load of money. But I think they're doing things the right way now. It's good to see when it happens, but like I say, the Premier League's just a complete.
Well, the question is then, what do you have to do, and what is a successful season then? I mean, you look in the Premier League now, and you're looking at the likes of Villa and Wolves and Leeds, those type of teams, and you say, well, what, is it literally just a case of finishing 17th? And that is all that really matters. If you can do it without a bit of a sweat, then all the better for it. But ultimately, if that's where you end up, then that's enough.
And again, that, for me as well, that's not what I remember football being like when I was younger. Norwich, first Premier League season, Norwich were top for 2/3 of the season.
Yep.
Believe it or not. And then not something I'd want to repeat, but Ipswich did the same, or they were very close, and they had a run about sort of 20 years ago where they ended up in Europe and playing Inter Milan in the UEFA Cup and the likes of that.
But then we had a Leicester recently, so it's not that it can still be done. I mean, isn't it? It's not that, but it's so tough to actually even break into that top 4 or the big 6, as they supposedly call it. I mean, and you've now got the likes of Newcastle that you feel that's just inevitable that's now going to happen, because they've not even really spent big yet, and they're already being far more competitive.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, though, Leigh. Look, as the fan of a mid-table club, I mean, we're robust. Obviously, you get a bad result, you're down for a week, but then you get a good result, right? You get a good result the following weekend, we're up again, right? So, it's not all about the glory and the top four and all of that stuff. You fan of a mid-table club, you just go week to week.
Haven't you had 2 bad weekends, though, Des?
Oh, we've had a lot of bad weekends. We've had a lot.
I mean, are you concerned? Are you concerned for top 4? Yeah.
I'm not concerned for relegation. Never mind top 4. Are you mad? Are you mad? You think I was joking when I said a mid-table club? Yeah, yes, I am concerned for top 4.
I mean, and how is the club
getting away?
How is the club structured for not playing Champions League? Financially, is that an issue? Or not really?
I mean, I suppose they're probably as well structured financially as any club, I think. So they can almost certainly get away without Champions League for a season or two. But as you know, at the top end of the league, it's all about bringing, elite talent in. And if you get that wrong anywhere along the line, you're screwed, and you can be screwed for years.
It's not so much about the bottom line profit or the income. It's actually about what it means, the fact that you can't sign the players that you would want to sign, and that's the problem, because they want to play Champions League.
Yeah. What's been the difference though this year, Des? I mean, I know obviously your front players have, Salah's a bit older, Mane's gone now. What for you is it that's making the difference?
Well, to be honest, it's probably twofold in that we had a magnificent run. So we shouldn't be forgotten. We had a magnificent run last season. We were, all right, lol, Steve will say. There he is. We were 15 minutes away from winning the Premier League, which is ridiculous, but it could have happened on the last day.
Let's add to that. This time last year, people were pretty much saying, get the trophy engraved with Man City's name on it.
Yeah. We came back from 14, 15 points down. Yeah. But so you had that. Then we had a Champions League final straight after. I think we were a little unlucky to lose that game, if I'm honest. I thought we did enough to be in with a shot of winning it. So that team could have delivered a quad, and here we are some weeks later. And honestly, I'm not joking when I'm saying they're mid-table, because they don't have the legs, it would seem, to beat a Leeds or a Forest, who are going to be extremely motivated to play Liverpool. We can still go to Ajax and nick a result. We can go to Rangers and score a lot of goals. So we do have that in us. But difficult to do that, though, Des. Yeah, well, I think the problem is we have had a few injuries this season. I'm going to say it again. So he's ended up playing the same midfield game after game after game, and unfortunately the legs just aren't there. Fabinho looks like a shadow of the player that he was. Harvey Elliott's very, pretty to look at, but physically, he's not a Milner or Henderson or any of those players.
And if you're a team playing in Europe this particular season, they have obviously crammed in all of the group games.
So we are playing 3 games
to be finished. Yeah, to be finished by what effectively the first week in November. Instead, they'd normally be running until the second week in December normally.
Yeah. So the games are being pushed in. So but a few players are starting to come back now. We definitely need a Jota or a Diaz back up front to lighten the load there, because they've not been around. Klopp's had to go to a different format, so we're not playing the 4-3-3 that we always play. We're playing a bloody diamond in the middle. It's an odd thing, and I think Liverpool might do a run in the Champions League if we get a decent draw in the last 16. And there isn't a fan amongst us who wouldn't take that as a good gift from the season. So if we could get,
to be honest, other than City, I think the Champions League is quite open. But even City seem to have a problem with playing in Europe. They're not really firing on all cylinders. I'm not seeing anybody else at the moment where you're going, wow, they're absolutely bossing it. Bayern Munich are kind of struggling a bit in Germany. Well, I think it's very difficult to know with PSG, because they're playing in a league which isn't the strongest league in the world. So they're then having to up, and I think that doesn't help, because they're then having to up themselves for Champions League games against the biggest. Real Madrid maybe are the ones that look good with a kind of a different team these days, but
Well, for me, that's why I think this is really open for Man City this year. Having Haaland as obviously he's not played for the last couple of games, but having Haaland, I think, has to be the difference for them this year.
Yeah, he should be.
They've always flattered to deceive in those final stages, haven't they? Where I would think that
Haaland, that type of player. I'm convinced if United had Haaland, in playing number 9 for us, we'd comfortably be in the top 4, probably top 2 at the moment this season already.
If Haaland was at Norwich, we might stay up in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think if Haaland was playing for Liverpool now, that even with all your injuries, you'd be a completely different thing. If Haaland was playing instead of Jesus for Arsenal, they'd be even more away with it. I think he's just that much of a player. And as I said, I think last week on the show, there aren't that many of those type of strikers around, and there's going to be quite a few clubs looking for one in the next couple of years.
Look, just when you use those examples, Leigh, I've got to ask you, because the Oracle has asked here, did you watch the cricket? Do you think could Haaland have saved England against Ireland in the cricket?
No, that's probably asking a little bit much. The rain basically did it for Ireland, wasn't it? I mean,
come on, boyos. Fantastic.
I mean, great result for Ireland, and you don't begrudge them that. But what is going on with putting on a T20 World Cup during the rainiest month in Australia? I mean, who thought that was a bright idea? Because basically, the kind of the semi-finals are going to get decided by the weather.
That's insane.
It just seems absolutely ridiculous, and not having any extra additional day. Didn't they used to have like reserve days and things like that where you could move fixtures and things like that? And I'm sure that used to be a thing in previous World Cups.
No idea, Leigh. Obviously, I'm Irish. We know nothing about cricket. All of our cricketers have been brought up on rounders, and now they're playing cricket. I love T20 though, because it just all happens quite dynamic. I like the energy.
The England Australia game was pretty much going to decide who made it through, and because it got rained off, that was in Australia's favour because England slipped up against Ireland. But so England don't get the chance to basically play the one which would decide whether they really got through or not.
I've not seen any of England out of it then.
Well, they've got a tough. I think they both got 2 games left, and England's games are a lot tougher, and they need Australia to slip up in their 2 games, which they could. Because Australia aren't that great.
I don't mean to be funny, Leigh. I mean, that's all well and good, but Ireland actually won the game against England, and our match against Afghanistan was washed out 2 days after.
Yeah,
we lost a chance to win an extra point there as well.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So. Yeah, but the Ireland, your win was it? Did it go down to like 7 overs in the end? They had to reduce it to get the game in, so it wasn't even a T20. It was just
but at least there was some sort of scoring mechanism. At least we all showed up.
Yeah, but say the point. I'm not really worried one way or the other. Not really that supportive of England cricket or anything. But it just seems to have a tournament, a high-profile tournament like that, structured like that, seems a bit of a farce, really.
Well, apparently, England to get through, they need to beat New Zealand and South London. It's doable. It's doable.
Which might be a bit easier than Sri Lanka, quite possibly. Yeah.
Wow.
Name me a city that starts with an L. Right, any city that starts with an L. Lagos.
Don't do that
Lisbon,
again.
Lisbon.
Yeah.
Detail.
We will be doing. I have got a new quiz lined up. We need to find dates where Paul Haycock and Dan Houston are both available, because I feel like they both need to be the ones to kind of christen this new quiz night. So
fantastic.
We will get that done at some point. We're back. We are back with the poker after the at the break at the 5 to the hour, and we're down to the remaining 7 now, which means we are on the final table, as you can see on the screen. Martin Kirsten from Belgium is chip leader at the moment, bottom of the screen with 700,000. Dan Williams second in chips. Steve Forty's on there. Oliver Pennington, who I mentioned earlier on, is on there as well, as is our good friend Triplin. Short stack of the 7, but he's there.
I think Triplin might be on the app. First game's on phone using app.
Okay, excellent.
Good for him.
That means he
Doing
should be
well.
able to throw stuff at people. So,
Yeah.
he should be. Yeah.
Steve 40 says Haaland will end up as the best striker ever in the Premier League, better than Thierry Henry. I guess that will come down to how long he stays for.
How long he stays? Yeah, that is exactly going to be it. It's going to be how long he decides
I think
to stay.
he's due to beat Shearer's goal scoring record in something like 6 seasons or something, isn't he?
But if he stays that long,
Yeah.
Oh, it's mad.
the guy and his dad and his agent have quite clearly got a career plan of what they want to achieve and where he wants to play. I'm not sure that will be being at one particular club for more than 3 or 4 years. I really don't see it.
He's impressively, and his forecasted goals are impressive. The numbers are huge. But Luis Suarez has scored that many goals against Norwich alone. Give us some respect.
The trouble is for Man City, and this is no disrespect to Man City as a club, what they've achieved and what they've built. And I know everybody says it's oil money. But actually, they've done a hell of a lot of good for the community. They pumped a lot of money into around the kind of the Etihad campus and what they do out of football as well. But ultimately, Pep is going to leave at some point. He's not going to be staying there for forever and a day, and it's still not a draw for players to go to City and want to play. If you gave players now an opportunity of playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid, they're going to pick Barcelona and Real Madrid over Man City. Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that.
What is that nonsense of holding the ball? That's not football.
What not letting the opposition have it?
Yeah. Why would you want
to
go
that's
there?
That's the reality of it. City, and it's great. People want to be part of the project, but it's not. It isn't a case of a long term thing. I don't think.
Just
Well, I think
look up. What did he say? I missed that. Warren, go again.
Sorry. What I was going to say about Man City is like the goal there is just to win the Champions League, isn't it? And as soon as you've won the Champions, I mean the only thing Haaland's really got to tie him to Man City is his dad. Yeah. So he wins the Champions League there, wins it 2 or 3 times. Well, what do you want to do? Stay and make a dynasty there, or do you want to go to try Barcelona out? Or same with Pep,
and to be honest, Warren, the one thing that people aren't talking about is, what do you do when you're playing Football Manager 2022 and, you take Bolton to the Champions League, you leave, right? You buy another club. The owners may leave. Who should they buy next, Leigh?
Well, that's the question. But that is the question. Once they've won the Champions League, which is what they want to do. I generally think Pep will go once if they win it this season. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Pep's like, right, okay, that's me done now. I've won the league four times in the last 5 years. The only thing that they're missing is success in Europe, and I think if they can nail that, then it's a case of, I don't think you're going to have the kind of the Fergie type dynasty managers that were there for 20 years, do it what Wenger did at Arsenal. Managers just don't do that anymore, and players certainly, there are players which are very much one club players and will stick with that club for but most players now will flit around, what they want to experience. Money's no object. It doesn't matter. They're all earning ridiculously good money, so they're going to want to go and experience something good. Unless you've really got a tie to that club, as you say, Warren, you've got to have a real. So like for example, I don't see Trent ever leaving Liverpool.
No.
Oh, he might do.
I don't see that. I'm not sure whether I ever see Rashford leaving United. Really. And unless he wasn't getting into the team and wanted to go and play football elsewhere, because you see what like the likes of Lingard clung on for ages and ages and ages, because it's the club that he wanted to play for, and eventually woke up to the realize. But his career is pretty much done now. Really,
has he played much at Forest, Lingard? I've not seen.
Yeah, no, he's playing. He's pretty much playing every game and has done absolutely bugger all. Simon might say something different, but yeah, Lingard, from what I've seen at Forest, if you compare him to the time he had at West Ham, where he certainly was kind of a 7 or an 8 out of 10 playing for them.
It's fantastic at West Ham.
He's even worse than when he actually put on a United shirt at Forest. I'm not seeing him do anything whatsoever.
My question here would be though, so people 15 years ago were saying, well, what happens when Sky loses interest? What happens when the Sky money runs out? And that's been replaced with, Abramovich starting off all the, the mega rich ownerships of clubs. Looking at it from a club that doesn't have that, and you've got many clubs in the Premier League that, for the best will of the world, they might trouble, like Brighton are doing it, might trouble the top 4.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's not. Triplin's got quad 4s. It's not. It's not a competition for many clubs in that Premier League. So, when you're looking at the European Super League, you think, actually, do you know what? Would I mind if Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea fucked off to play in Europe and then actually make a decent competition for the rest of us? Or, what's the end game for this? Is it going to be a Super League? Is it going to be everyone has to be multi-billionaires to survive in the Premier League? And then, what does that do for football?
Yeah, I do think that. I still think that the Super League thing is still on the cards at some point. I know they've tried to put things in place to make sure it doesn't happen, but ultimately, obviously you say you've switched kind of to supporting a lot more of the NFL, and you only have to look at those structures of American sports, whether it's NFL or the ice hockey or the NBA basketball, or baseball, to see how those structures work, how the franchises work, how they finance it. It's a different world, but ultimately it's a world that doesn't have relegation or promotion, but it's entertainment, and it's very marketable.
But watching the the Rams at the moment, they're owned by the same guys that own Arsenal.
Oh, it's Kroenke. Wow. Does he? Okay. Well, hasn't the guys that own the Vegas ice hockey team, I think it is, they're just buying Bournemouth, aren't they?
Are they? I didn't know that.
Oh,
yeah. I'm pretty sure they're just buying Bournemouth. They're certainly buying a club. I thought it was Bournemouth, but yeah.
Are they wealthy, Leigh? The assumption presumably is that they are. I mean, is that going to give Bournemouth a chance?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, it might do. I'm trying to think of who they are. Let's see if I can look them up.
Were Bournemouth not owned by Russians before that?
Yeah, there was a guy, the Russian guy that did, but he wasn't, he wasn't anything special necessarily.
But he wasn't a special Russian.
Bill Foley who's a American investor, 77-year-old. He's buying them for about 120 million.
Okay.
So it's close to doing, and he owns the Vegas Golden Knights.
We've had something similar at Norwich, where the guy that owns the Milwaukee Brewers, which I think is like a baseball team, they've had some investment in Norwich recently. So whether that ends up being they do more in the long term, it's not a controlling ownership or anything like that. Yeah. But he's put sort of 7 figures in, low 7 figures into the club. But I think that's the start of the the sort of handover from Delia to something else.
Yeah. He's a billionaire. This guy, Bill Foley, 77 years old, and he's got long-term plans to want to to build a new stadium, and it's sort of just going through at the moment. And he's looking to buy other clubs in Belgium and France to form a multi-club dynasty. Yeah. So
that's the way a lot of them go nowadays, though, isn't it? I mean, I think it's with Bournemouth, you're still only getting 12,000 a week.
Well, that's all. That's what is in the and that was moved to a new stadium years back, and it still is only that. And even in the Premier League, that was it. It's and Bournemouth, it's not great numbers, is it really?
I mean, Brentford. I've really enjoyed watching Brentford over the last couple of years and seeing what they've done. and they're still. I mean, they've got a new stadium. They've built that recently. I got to go to Griffin Park just before that shut down.
Yeah.
Hell of a ground that was. Pub on each corner of the stadium.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. So that's
The
right,
thing with Bournemouth is I don't really know. You're in this situation whereby you've got Southampton just down the road that's got 32,000 seater stadium and has always had a decent numbers in. Bournemouth, it doesn't really have a kind of a catchment area to be picking up a huge number of new fans. I'm not sure even if maybe because it's Premier League, if they had a 30,000 stadium, maybe they'd fill it. But I'm not hearing that there's ridiculous demand for season tickets and everything else, and they sell what they sell. But I don't know what the cap would be that they would comfortably sell week in, week out.
Well, I remember going to watch Wigan years ago, going to the away end, and as we parked up, their adverts for their season tickets were advertising, not watching how Wigan and all the Wigan players. It was like see Ronaldo, see Rooney, see like Henry come and play. Yeah. And it was advertising the other teams to get them players, to get people to come in and watch quality Premier League players, not getting to watch whatever. I don't know. I don't know any Wigan players, but
it sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Though, I mean, I don't think the demand is as huge across all of the clubs as you might imagine. I mean, you can still buy tickets for Anfield on Tuesday night, Liverpool against Napoli in the Champions League. You still buy tickets. Just go to the website. You go to Man City. It's just insane how many tickets you can buy for almost any game.
Do United still do that thing where you're forced to buy tickets for the cup with your season ticket, Leigh?
I think they do. I mean, it's the reason I stopped. So I used to have cup season tickets at Old Trafford when they used to split the league and the cup ones, which was great because it meant I couldn't go up for every single game, but I pretty much committed to buy every single cup game every year, and I had 2 season tickets. And then they stopped that and forced the season ticket holders to buy them or sell them via GoGo or whatever if you couldn't go. And that was the point where I just went, right, that's enough of that for me then.
Well, this is the other thing with the American models of sports. The tickets we got for the Raiders game and also for the Golden Knights, what people will do is they'll buy the season ticket and then they'll just sell it on ticket resale sites, and that's the accepted thing. I went to watch a basketball game in Miami about 7 years ago, and you think the basketball, they have 82 regular season games a year, so they're playing every other day pretty much during the main season. So you'd think, well, no one in their right mind is going to go to a game on Tuesday, a game on Thursday, a game on Saturday. And so the way they do it is you buy the season ticket and then just sell the games you don't go to. You sell the tickets on Ticketmaster or StubHub or something like that. And you asked last week, Leigh, how easy was it to get tickets? You look at the Raiders stadium, and it wasn't a big game, but the stadium was half empty or half full, depending which way you look at it. But And we could go on to Ticketmaster the day before the game, put in $150, and that got us a ticket. But of course, what those guys are doing is they're buying the season tickets, especially at Las Vegas. Yeah. They're buying the season tickets, thinking, well, we're going to have new people come in every week who are going to want to watch a game, so I'll buy.
Yeah, they want the people. So you're buying the experience rather than than necessarily buying the sports ticket. And if you've got a season ticket in the right venues where you're going to have an influx of people that are going to come in, as you quite rightly said. So if it's an NFL weekend, hotel prices go up because people are going in and going, right, well, we're going to go and watch the game, and we're going to be in Vegas for the weekend. Well, that's a weekend away, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's as I say, that's completely different. That sort of model, and I think it's the same for a lot of American sports. It's the same model, so it's very different to how it works in the UK as well. So,
whereas in this country, if you've got a season ticket for your club, you're probably going to go to 90% of the games, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I live 5 minutes walk from Carrow Road, and if I had a season ticket still, that's, of course, it's a game every other week rather than every other day pretty much. The other thing with America,
don't panic, guys. I've put another 50p in the meter. They should start dealing again now, so you should be all right. There was a pause on the final table for a minute, but we're all sorted now.
But yeah, so you go to Carrow Road once every 2 weeks to watch Norwich, and you think, like, well, by the time you've watched a game, 2 weeks is, you think, I'll go and watch. It's not a fit. You don't think about not going to see a game because it's 2 weeks down the line. Whereas with, certainly with, the Golden Knights, I think they had 3 games while we was out there. So you're not going to sit and want to go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
No. And you obviously have the thing where they're on the road, aren't they? So they'll do 2 or 3 home games in a row, and then they will go and do 2 or 3 away games, and they split it like that. Whereas we tend to be, home one match, away the next match more often than not. You never really have any more than 2 in a row.
Yeah. It can be. I think they call them homesteads, where they'll do like 7 or 8 home games in a row. I think Miami, they opened up the basketball season with 4 home games and lost them all.
The basketball fixtures are amazing, because obviously you're all in divisions, and then you play in a conference as well, and you play more games against your local teams in your division. I can't exactly remember the numbers, but basically you play everybody across the country in a season, but you also play extra games against those that are locally in your division, or I think you play an extra game against those in your conference as well, to ultimately get the wins. It's a mad way. The way I did read about it once, about how it's all structured and everything.
Like in your division, you'll play every team 4 times or 6 times or something like that.
Yeah.
You'll play so Miami are in the Eastern Conference. I think they're in the Atlantic Division. So they'll play everyone in the Western Conference home and away once. So that's, I think, 30 games. There's 15 teams in each conference, I think. You've got 4 or 5 teams in your own Pacific, in your own division within your own conference. So I think they play 4 times or 6 times. I don't know. And then with NFL as well, NFL's even weirder, because you've got the NFL and the National Football League and the American Football League. So where you've got 2 teams, I might get this wrong, but where you've got 2 teams in LA, one's in the NFC and one's in the AFC. So they won't play each other, or they might play each other once, but because you've only got 16 home games in a season, or 16 games in a season in the NFL, you might not play a team for 2 or 3 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So I can't get my head around how that works.
And you have and teams have bye weekends, don't they? Where they just have a week off.
Well, I think it's due to the number of teams. So you'll have the week before we went, Raiders had a bye week, so you've got 17 game weekends, but you'll play 16 games or something like that.
The other thing that would drive me a bit crazy if I was an NFL fan, and I've always wanted to be, but I've never just found myself able to hook into a team or players or what have you, but it's just how relatively short the season is. So it's obviously very intensive when it's on, but am I right in saying September to end January is when the Super Bowl is?
Yeah,
that's like an incredibly short season, and I guess you've got baseball and basketball, and maybe that's the way American sports runs. But I'm not sure I could do without 9 or 10 months of my team sort of slogging it out.
Well,
out there.
Basketball pretty much runs for the most of the year. So basketball runs October to June.
Well, the thing is about is that the regular season will finish in March, around March time. And then you go into the playoffs. So if your team don't make the playoffs, you only get
stuffed.
So baseball. I mean, again with baseball, they have something like 120 regular season games, and they'll have games where they'll play like one team 8 days in a row or something like that. Ice hockey, for example, again, they've one of the Raiders players, the Golden Knights players. He's just broken what they call the Ironman record, which is the number of most consecutive games played. And he's played something like 982 consecutive games or something without injury and without anything else. And I was like, well, that's something like, I don't know, 8 seasons worth of games, where you think like Ronaldo, he plays 1,000 games. That's a career, isn't it? I'm really getting into American sports recently, but it's so many of the things that just feel so alien to how sports should be.
Yeah. I tell you what I really do like about American sports, and I think I've been talking for a long time about how we could do this with APAT and tournaments and stuff, is a draft, right? Absolutely love the idea of a draft, the idea that you can sort of, get a random order or whatever, and then pick out an absolute diamond player and go from there. Love the excitement around the draft.
So Tom Brady, when he was drafted, what number was he drafted at the season he was drafted? Think about how amazing a player he.
Yeah. Oh, he was way down the draft, wasn't he? Was he like seventh row, seventh?
100, he was drafted 199th or something like that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, wasn't it the 7th round of picks or even something further lower than that? Yeah, it was just incredible.
But again, we're talking about differences. You English clubs, they have, or how football works. You have your own academies and you bring your own players through. Whereas you've got the college, college sports, where the college football teams, they'll get more than. They'll get 60, 70,000 people going to a college sports game, which you think about going to watch, like, Liverpool under 18s or something like that. It's never going to get that, is it? So,
but you're right. College football is huge out there, and maybe that's the way they extend the season. Does that run parallel to the NFL, or does it run before? I'm trying to think the college. When the college terms would be.
I've seen some college sports. I've seen some college football on the screens in the sports bars in Vegas recently. And I also know as well, they do, in basketball, they do March Madness, which is like the college, it's like, I don't know, a cup or something like that.
Yeah.
So that goes on in March, which is towards the end of the regular season of the NBA.
Am I right in saying that? And that's the only way you can get into the NBA or the NFL is through, you've got to be going through the college route. You couldn't literally, I didn't go to college, and all of a sudden go, do you know what, I'm pretty good at this sport. I'm going to get picked up.
It's how you get recognised. But obviously people like, I think like Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's Greek. So a lot of foreign players will be recognised and they'll play for foreign teams. I'm not sure whether this happened with Giannis, but you'll get picked up either. You can anyone can enter the draft, I think. I might be wrong on this, but
okay. Yeah.
But obviously how good you are will be noticed via your college route, or noticed via the fact that, you've played at a really high level in Eurobasket or something like that. So, and there's a lot. I mean, there was something on Netflix recently that's come up about the Dream Team, or the Redeem Team, they called it. So, when the Americans put together a team to win the Olympics, you had the Dream Team, which had like Michael Johnson, Jordan, all that. They then had a season where they sort of didn't, or Olympics where they didn't give it the full attention. So they then got Kobe, LeBron, D-Wade, and all them lot to play, and that's on Netflix at the moment. And they were showing a lot about how a lot more European players are actually coming into the NBA at the moment. So you've got like Pau Gasol, he's been in it for a few years. Luka Doncic, who's currently at the Dallas Mavericks, he's 23, and the numbers that he's putting up at the moment are incredible. So he's got the potential to really trouble like top scorers, top assists, top whatever. If he goes long in the NBA, he'll be putting up numbers like LeBron does. But I think they did something I saw a stat the other day where he's got, for his age, the most 30-point triple doubles in a game. Or most 30-point triple doubles treble what anyone else has got by the age that he is now. So
we've never produced basketball players in the UK, have we? Really? I'm trying to think of anyone that's really ever like the odd one or two. But
there was one that played for, I can't remember his name. Played for Miami when I went to watch them, and I can't remember his name. I mean, he's British, but he may have gone through the American system.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to Google.
I know back in the day you had a couple of. There used to be like an American football league in the UK, didn't they? And a couple of the rugby players used to play for some of them. Or certainly obviously had kicking duties and that kind of thing. I'm trying to think who was the Scottish fullback?
Gavin Hastings.
Hastings. Yeah, I'm sure he used to play for one of the teams at one point. There was a guy on today. One of the earlier games today went to overtime, Des, and they had a field goal kick to win the game. So it's the only thing this guy has to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a long distance one at all. Yeah, and he shoved it wide, and you just kind of go, and you could see the rest of his team like going,
One job.
Got one bloody job.
But in fairness, like, you know, can you imagine you come on
High pressure,
literally
like
for 20
it's
seconds?
yeah, it's like well, I suppose it's like a penalty. It's like a penalty kick in a penalty shootout, isn't it? You know, where it is that the one kick to win it all.
Yeah, but the guy that you're bringing on has done nothing during the game. He's just come on to take a penalty.
That's the point.
But he's not even the same kicker that that punts, is he? That's a different one, isn't it? That does that. Yeah.
So the guy, the kicker, and I forget his name for the Raiders, he's not missed a field goal attempt in the Allegiant Stadium for something like 18 months or something like that.
Fantastic.
Every field goal he's hit it. So he has got one job and he does it bloody well. Lou Oldeng was the British guy that played for Miami.
Oh, okay.
Somebody else brought up John Amici as well. So John Amici was, I think it was around sort of early 90s. Yeah, there we go, Daniel.
And Amentia Bonshu. No idea.
But Deng, yeah. So yeah, okay.
I think I had that for tea last night.
Talking about Dan Williams. He's gone to significant chip leader in here. We're down to 4 in this turbo knockout, and Dan has more than the rest of the 3 put together. We're going to be Martin. I'm assuming Martin was the chip leader, but is pretty much got not even one big blind. In fact, he's all in this hand now. So I wonder whether he's even disconnected or something. That does seem a little bit weird.
So Dan's going for the double here, Leigh. Is that right? He's already
yes, he won the main event tonight. Yeah, he's won the main event tonight, so he's looking to win 2 on the night, which would be pretty impressive. If he could do that. I don't know where that would let's see where that would put him on the old leaderboard. See whether we've got any sweat. Oh, I'll tell you what.
We're heads up here.
Tell you what. I think this. I don't got to check whether anyone else has scored points who are playing this one, but this could put Dan top of the leaderboard if he wins this.
Really?
This could 2 wins tonight. I mean, because they're big runners, comps, so you know they get decent numbers. So yeah, this could put him top of the leaderboard for the week.
Late drama. This takes me back to the early days, Leigh. Every weekend was like a half a point between about 400 players.
Yeah, there was nothing in it. Well done to Tristan though. Finishes third.
Good run.
Only $2.50 of bounties, but picks up $38. So $40 on the night for Tristan. So very well done.
Going back to squads, I'm a late entry to the Blue Blood team. I've paid little attention to it because I didn't think I was going to be playing in it. But what's the structure for that going to be? How's that set up?
Oh, it's going to be
so squads live is very similar to how we run the counties. So 2-day comp. First day, so it's teams of 4. First day, everybody plays 3 sit and goes each, and you earn points for your team. Then the top, say how many top teams go through. I think it's top 25 or something like that. Teams go through to the day 2, where you all play one more sit and go, which is a kind of a final table qualifier. If you win that sit and go, you win your team a place on the final table. If more than one from one team wins, they get double stack. And then the final table plays out. All of the team element of it is paid out on the final table. But what we've added this year is on day 1, so everybody plays 3 sit and goes. If you win your sit and go, you will win a mystery prize out of the prize pool, which can range from anything from £25 cash up to there's £1,000 cash.
So we've kind of got the mystery bounty element into this somewhere, haven't we?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the idea. So it just means if you have a good run on day 1 of and do well with your sit and goes, well, you get a little bit of reward for it as well. So
cool.
So yeah, really looking forward to it. So it'll be a good weekend. Well, Julian is heads up against Dan here, and has obviously busted a couple of the other players, and now it's fairly even stacks here between the two of them. Julian's from Canada.
A question from Triplin here, Leigh. Can we keep the timeout feature in squads, please? Nice addition, I feel.
Can we have the throwing shit at people in squads as well?
Oh.
So it is a tag team weekend. So if you've bust your sit and go in each phase, you can tag into one of your one of your teammates' tables if they want to.
That was a feature as well, wasn't it? I remember that.
Then on the final table, obviously you're only playing one stack per team. So again, you can tag in whenever you want. And obviously on the final table, we will also have the ability for I think we normally put 2 tokens where you can actually in the middle of a hand actually go and have a conversation with your teammates about a particular hand.
Should be good.
So.
Oh, Leigh, hold on. I've got a marketing opportunity just coming in. Let me put this on screen for you. If I get your name, I assume Steve is not talking about you, Leigh. He's talking about APAT, right? On BBC2 for the Hereford-Portsmouth FA Cup game. What do I get? So he's looking for a motivational item here. A strange thing is that Portsmouth keeper Joshua Griffiths is a Hereford lad. We know the family. What can we do for him? We'll do something. We've already had this discussion with the lad. If he can get APAT, I think there was an APAT and a Des Duffy mention. What was it? A shirt?
Yeah.
Des Duffy, give me your APAT shirt. That's right. We said did we not say we'd give him the couple of shirts that I've got there? Medal Hunters. And
we said we'd sort him out some shirts or some tickets, or we do something for him. Definitely, if we can manage to do that,
we will definitely do something. And Tristan is saying, I like your thinking though, Leigh. Tag into an opponent's team. It's brilliant. That would be a way to do it.
Yeah. It's sorry, you've been voted out. Yeah,
that's right. Be like having Joe Gomez in your team. You start 1-0 down. Oh, sorry, that slipped out.
No, he's been doing all right, hasn't he? And then he just had a bit of an unfortunate situation. So here we go then. No pressure here then, Mr. Williams. But quickly running through the numbers here. If you finish second, you are going to finish second in the leaderboard for the week. However, if you can win this, you will top the leaderboard for the week.
Danny Williams, what a challenge.
Come
what
on.
A challenge. Warren, there's a request for you in the chat box. This is coming in from Twitch, from Selfax. Guys, I want to go play poker at casino, but I don't have any cash. Please, Zell me $20 to feed my addiction. Oh, he had me up to addiction. We can't feed addictions. We're just going to have to withdraw that opportunity, Leigh. That one, I'm afraid, has just had to go.
That was something weird that happened. Someone just came up to us and said, some woman just came up to us in the casino and said, Cash App. And it took us a while. Like, well, Cash App is, and Zella, they're all like PayPal, aren't they? So we're like, Cash App, like, what the fuck are you talking about? It turns out she wanted us to Cash App her some money. And we were like, just, excuse me, like, I'm really doing poor with life. Can I have $20? Not rather than just going Cash App.
Oh, fantastic.
It's got quite lazy, isn't it? Really, yeah. Just
fantastic. I mean, that's an innovation I never thought we'd see in the live arena. I remember, back in the day, stars, right? Send me 1 cent. Transfer me 2 cents, please.
Yeah, that used to be a what was it? What was it called? Nipping. I want to say
it was nipping. Was a thing. It's like
nipping.
Something completely different.
It's like when Donald Trump sends out those
when somebody's had a decent win, isn't it? And it's just and all of a sudden people kind of can you stake me in this or lend me some money or do whatever? Yeah, I'm sure it's called nipping. I want to say, but
can I get 2,000, please?
Yeah.
Why 2,000? Wow, I need the money.
Just going to message Ben Burnhill. He had a decent win in Malta, didn't he? Yeah.
How did he finish in the end of that tourney? Do we know?
He stood up, shook the other 5 players' hands, and said, "Thanks very much for a great day." yeah. I think he finished 6th. I think.
Thanks so much, off place slots or something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Oh, I do have to tell you about. One of the tournaments we played at Bally's. Super like quick structure, but John Rees made final table, and John Rees, being John Rees, decided to just make it a load of fun. I think they got down to the bubble, and there was like 3 guys with like 1.5 bigs or something like that. So one of the guys was like, "Well, look, should we take off some money and pay the bubble?" And John was like, "Fuck no, there's these guys are all, these guys, I've got a big stack, and there's 2 guys here with a big stack. You want to take $100 off our money to pay the bottom guy." And this one chap, he was, "Well, look, that's what we do here. That's what we do. This is how it works. We always do this." And he just said, "Well, yeah, well, not today. I'm here today. Not today." So then I think the bubble burst in a weird way, and then this guy was then like, "Right, well, now do you want to do some sort of IC or some sort of deal now?" And I think John was happy to do an equal chop. Now the short stacks had gone, but then the guy that was big stack wanted to do an ICM chop. So the guy that was then short stack was like, "No, fuck." The guy he was just really kicking off about it, and then John just gave him a bad beat, and he was like, "Right, ta-ra. See you later." And it's like, went to give him a fist bump, and you're not getting that.
Poker players, brutal, my friend.
Yeah, so he ended up. I think they ended up first and second ended up chopping, but did nothing for international relations at all.
Nah. Well, you can't throw
It
that
is.
line.
It is.
This is the
it
way
is
we do it
interesting
here.
though. Yeah, but it is interesting. You see a lot of it in the States of, it's keeping it friendly. It's we'll pay the bubble. Well, in which case, why not just build that into the into the tournament structure in the first place then? So we're going to pay the bubble. Well, therefore it's not really the bubble then, is it? So where does it end up then? Where does it? Where do you go with it?
I remember hearing one story once where I think it was actually on this show. I remember hearing one story about a guy that was playing down in Brighton, and he'd said, everyone had said, "Look, we're going to pay the bubble. We want to pay the bubble." And this guy said no, because he's thinking, "I'm chip leader. I'm going to take advantage of this bubble situation to increase my stack. So I don't want to pay the bubble."
Yeah.
But then what happened was the bubble then got knocked out, and he said, "Right, okay, stop it here, guys. I wanted to take advantage of this. I'm quite happy to pay the bubble. Shall we just pay the bubble now?" And everyone said, "Well, no, he's out. Fuck him." But everybody else wanted to pay the bubble. This guy said no. He made a few chips taking advantage of the bubble dynamics, and then the other, he said, "Right, well, yeah, I'm happy to pay him. Should we do it? I just wanted to do this." And everyone else just said, "No, he's out. Fuck him."
Yeah. Just keep it simple.
Yeah,
keep it simple and play with your own money.
It is a weird one. I've said before, I did a 9-way chop at the Win back in 2017. I mean, they started talking a deal at the final. I thought, well, it's never going to get through, so I just kept quiet. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're kind of going, the other 8 have agreed, and they're just looking at me, and I'm going, well, how? Okay, yeah, difficult to say no, but I'd never, it seems to be in the States very much a thing.
Well, the tournament we played at the area, as I say, there was 8 paid, but what we did we got to the final 9. I ended up finishing 9th, but what we ended up doing was everyone put in $30, and it gave money back to 9th. So that's what we did instead of paying the bubble. But then when it got down to the final 8, they wanted to do a chop, and they said, "Well, we'll do an ICM." And I think at the time, John and Tom were both sort of relatively average stacks, so they were both on for about I don't know, 1,400 each or something like that, which was obviously a good little cash. And there was one guy at the table. He was a big stack, and he wanted a certain amount. He wanted a certain amount out of the tournament. He wanted 2,300 or something, and the ICM took him to like 1,900. And what they do at the area is they give you two like plaques. One says deal, one says no deal. Noel Edmonds doesn't come out with them, unfortunately, but and then you chuck the one in the middle that you want to do, and then they turn them all over, and if they all say deal or if they all say chop, then it does the chop based on the numbers. And there was one person that didn't chop, which we think was this guy that was in seat 1, who was a bit of an idiot. But then unfortunately, so Tom and John were both thinking, lovely, you know, 1,400, 1,200 quid, dollars each. They walked away with 400 and 500 respectively, because this one guy didn't want to chop, which was a bit of a rub down. But and because we had a thing where we all had 10% of each other during the trip anyway, so for any tournaments that we played. So I was sat there thinking,
happy days.
That's happy days. Tom was sat there, he didn't play the tournament and got a hand pay on a slot while we were doing all this, so he ended up walking away with the most money.
That's the luck of the Irish for you. Yeah,
he won like 1,400 on a Buffalo slot or something like that. So
very nice indeed.
Fantastic.
Oh, they've both got it all in again. Ace 10 versus Ace Queen. It's the Ace 10 at risk. Julian's already hit runner for a flush earlier on, but it's not going to happen this time. And he's only gone and done it.
Wow.
He's only gone and done it. Takes down the final event of the week, the Turbo Knockout. Superb effort, Mr. Williams. Won the No Limit Hold'em main event earlier on for $509. Picks up the Turbo Knockout as well for what's that, about $145. That's not a bad evening's bit of work. And it's been a really light week. Lots of people playing. Say the numbers have been great all week. But 2 cashes on the Sunday night is enough for Dan Williams to take the win. He picked up 140 points for the week. Your cowboy, Yeehaw, Yakovenko from the Ukraine, had 2 wins and had 123 points in the bag, but it wasn't enough. Oliver Pennington actually had 3 cashes for the week, so more than the other 2 above him, but actually finished in 3rd. Ganka from Hungary, Georgieva, had 3 cashes as well. Dylan Herbert made it in the top 20, finished in 7th in the end. A couple of cashes from earlier on the week for Dylan, so he's going to keep his step 5. He's the only step 5 in the top 20, though.
Wow.
I'm starting to get a bit worried, though, because that Di Farrell has made the top 20 again. Des, that moves her up to step 4 for next week.
Well,
she's quietly going about this. Yeah, not, do you know what I mean? No.
Getting it
I'm
quietly,
just worrying
Leigh.
that, because we know she knows that Gordon MacArthur, and Gordon McCarthy was a cheap date once.
It was a cheap date,
Leigh.
That was a mistake.
And then he wasn't a cheap date for a long time. And we learned a lesson there. So very well done to Di. Anyway, finished 18th, couple of cashes for the week. But that's what you can do, guys. It's been a quiet week, so a lot of a decent cash in a big tournament, winning it, or a couple of smaller cashes can get you in the top 20 and can get you some added value. So we'll do it all again from tomorrow night.
That's right. Picture yourself lying on a king-size bed in a Vegas suite, just lying there with your 50. How much did they get? $55. Your 50.
It depends what step you're on. So anything from $5.50 to $55. So yeah,
get it done. Get it done. It sounds like we're done for the week, Leigh.
We are. Yeah, we
Time
are. Time
to shut up shop. Yeah. Warren, thank you for joining us tonight. It was really good. Really.
Before I go, massive congratulations to Matt Wilson as well.
Yeah, fair play to him.
Or whatever, but he's done really well out there this week. So big shout out to him.
Yeah, top job to Matt for doing as well as he did in Malta, and of course to all of the players who travelled over there as well, and to Tom for doing the video for us earlier on, and of course being there running the events, looking after our players out there and what have you. Thanks to everyone who played this week, and we'll undoubtedly do so again next week. Leigh and I will be back on Sunday night with perhaps a mystery guest. We'll have
more guests. We definitely have more guests.
We'll be talking about Liverpool's defeat to, Shrewsbury Town in the league.
Whoever you do to play next week.
We'll do that next week. Thanks to everyone who watched in with us. We really appreciate having you on and chatting with us through the evenings. So until next time, have a great week, everyone, and we shall see you soon.